Hey guys, it's Matt. This is simply an exercise in thinking big. What I'm about to propose right now to me is unlikely. I'm not trying to do another every single mountain and piece of stone on this earth was once a giant tree. I'm not trying to create one of those. Trust me, I'm not. I think that was taken too far, way too far, that every single piece of stone on this earth was once a tree. But overall, I like the exercise because it gets people to think in ways that they couldn't have possibly imagined, completely outside of the box. I think when things like that in the truth community are taken too far and they can be pushed too far to discredit the truth community, overall, it's not good for the people that start telling everybody down the Thanksgiving table that every single major stone structure was once a tree. So, of course, that doesn't really help things. But the person down the table has probably been discredited years ago with their family or friends, so it doesn't really matter. Overall, for us, I kind of like it because it's an exercise in thinking big, as this is. So, to start, I just want to mention a few things or get some basic agreement from most of you at the most basic of levels, as I just chose these images of the pyramids at random. Overall, just basic agreement, and we'll build from there. Please, one last time, have nobody please put words in my mouth. Somebody will run with this. Matt believes this. No, I don't. What I'm about to propose is probably unlikely, but it's possible. It's possible. And it gets us thinking in new ways. I'm even saying the theory I'm putting out is unlikely, so please, but some troll will edit a soundbite. Look what Matt's pushing. Whatever, these trolls. Anyway, guys, just showing the pyramids. At the most basic level, would you agree that the ancients and ancient cultures had an understanding or perhaps a way of doing things that is far superior than what we know today, or at least what they share with us? Most people would say yes. And I know we can go down the sliding scale here, guys. How real is this world? Is the pyramid a figment of an illusory reality itself? It was so, in other words, it may never have been built. I like those types of, I favor that side of things. And I like those types of intellectual exercises, but that's not the purpose here. We just stick to, in this exercise, the world is pretty real, at least for this mind exercise. So would you all agree that the ancients, assuming ancient civilizations existed, basically, as history tells us, the ancients knew some things? I think most of you were not shaking your head, nodding your head, that, yeah, the ancients, they knew some things. They knew some things about the afterlife, how to do things here, technology, things that these creeps might still have, yet they don't share with us. So we all agree that the ancients, not just this culture, but, I could be showing you anything. Obviously the pyramid of the sun and the moon in Mexico is probably half the size of the Great Pyramid. That still makes it about 1,000 times more impressive than anything, quote, man has ever built. We'd agree. Okay, we'd agree. They had some knowledge about something that's either lost or covered up. Okay, we use that agreement to go forward.
Shrinking. It shrunk and lifted just a little bit, but the piece, it's actually any thinner than those 4 cards. So I'm going to gently roll my roller at the project that we're going to be doing right now. Let's talk about some of the additional materials you're going to need for this specific. Let me show you here. You can see how thick this piece is.
Okay, what was that I just showed? Most people don't know this. A lot of jewelry that is sterling silver is actually made from clay. It's called PMC clay. It's not fake in any way. The final result is a real silver piece of metal or earring or jewelry. You buy this stuff called PMC clay. You shape it or press a design into it or create, something like this, whatever it may be. And then, go ahead. Then you fire it. What you can shape, the clay is easy as shaping. Remember the old Play-Doh, not Play-Doh, Play-Doh. We had Play-Doh. Remember you roll that shit over a newspaper. You get the family circus image staring at you, rolled over a newspaper, like, wow, that's a big deal. Sorry. So you can create, now this isn't like fake silver in every sense per the periodic table. This is silver. Maybe it's not of the highest, purest quality. Once it fires, though, you put it into a kiln for whatever, an hour, 1600 degrees, 1800 degrees. So most people aren't aware. If I would have told anybody that wasn't aware of this, if I had a piece of clay in my hand and I said, I can turn this as an alchemist, I could turn this into real silver. If you weren't aware of this, nobody would believe it. A piece of clay, and it just doesn't really register that a piece of clay could become silver. I mean, this is, this, do I know much about alchemy? No. And the way alchemy is described, in the history books or how it's described to the masses, in my opinion, not knowing much about it, just understanding how this world works, it's mostly a deception. They would make you think that the alchemists, all they did was just run around and try to turn useless base metals like lead into gold and silver, and they just did this century after century, and nobody got anywhere. Or did they not get anywhere? Maybe they did, and it wasn't shared with us, of course. The history book will say they never got anywhere, but it's about, obviously, that's a metaphor. That was probably part of it, but that was probably all they released in terms of what they were doing. To me, it's a giant metaphor. Alchemy is a metaphor for the transformation of, the soul or the spiritual self, or what we're here to do. The book, somebody gave it to me. That book came out about 10 years ago or so, The Alchemist. And I still have it. Somebody gave it to me. Oh, it's the greatest book of all time. When I read it, I was like, this stinks. But there's no doubt that book was pushed. I need to go read it again, because there's no doubt when something like that is pushed onto the masses unnaturally, like the book The Firm. I'm sorry, it's just not the greatest thing of all time, and everybody was reading The Firm, running around reading The Firm. And let me show you some different pictures of PMC clay here, because these thumbnails are so important to this presentation. The Firm, and what was the other? Da Vinci Code. They're good, but the system is also pushing them out. The system wants everybody reading that stuff. And the same was true of this book, The Alchemist. So I need to go back and read this book again to see what the truth hidden in it is, but also what the reason for the deception and the reason they put that stinker out. But nobody would believe me, if I said you can turn clay into real silver. But that being said, this is just a preparation, a mental exercise preparation for the real wacko shit that's coming in the next section. Okay, where am I going with this? Let's use a sculpture. Yeah, not the sculptor. We won't use him. He's dead. Sculpture that we've all looked at, or many of us have looked at in the truth community, seemingly the most impossible sculpture of all time. It's called, actually, interesting enough, Release from Deception. And this is just a close-up of it. I'll show you the whole thing in a moment. Carved from one piece of marble, a fisherman is rescued by an angel standing on a globe. It's called Release from Deception. And there's a net, a rope net, and it's all carved from a single piece of marble. Now, I'll show you the detail if you're not familiar with this. The detail in the net, how it's all wound together, absolutely is carved in like rope. Knots. Everywhere the rope attaches to each other is a knot. Most of us that have looked at this, and I would agree, so this is just not possible for a normal. Well, get to the point, Matt. Okay. The point is, don't sit down now, and don't take me out of context. If I wouldn't push all my chips up, and I'm not telling you this is what it is. This is an exercise in thinking big. No matter how much I stress this, some troll will cut this and then run with this. Look what Matt's saying, that freak. Maybe this is a real person. It's an exercise in thinking big, guys. And even for those that, many of you are like nodding your head like, yeah, it could be. Remember, we talked about all sorts of things going on in the ancient world that we are just beyond anything we can fathom or what they share with us. All right. We see these impossible sculptures of people, in this case, people and a net. maybe it's a real net with rope. PMC, don't forget the PMC clay thing. I wouldn't even probably be thinking along these lines if I didn't know that you could make clay, the soft stuff, and someone could say this could become not something that looks like silver or the way a cubic zirconic or zirconia looks like a diamond. It becomes real silver per the periodic table definition. So how do we know they didn't have a technique? Medusa, for everybody's like, somebody's in Skokie's like, this is, I like the big thinking on this channel, but this is bullshit. I'm not listening to this bullshit. I mean, bullshit. Oh, hey, Medusa, let me try to save the video before you turn me off. Medusa, what's the biggest Greek legend of all time? Basically of all time. Little kids know Medusa. You know, Perseus, Medusa. What did it do? Turn men to stone. This damn statue is called Release from Deception. If I had to guess, Matt, you put all your chips. Is this a real person, or some of these? Not all of them. Are some of these real people? They had some technique to turn somebody into marble or something like that. I wouldn't push all my chips on it. I'm just going there. To understand this world, you can't remain in the box. You have to do weird shit exercises like this from time to time. Now, what do we know? A lot of these statues are like life size, right? A lot of them are life size. I know well, Matt, how do you explain the little tiny? Yeah, let's look at the whole thing here. Come on now, go ahead. No, that's not the greatest. How do you explain the little angel? I don't know. Maybe they got it's like a guy that played in the Game of Thrones to come up and pose or turned him to stone. I don't know. Again, this is an exercise in thinking big. And it's not, even if there's any bit of this, it just kind of hit me as I was in some fog of thinking about different things. I went, holy crap, maybe these people are real, like per Medusa. It doesn't mean every single one would be maybe there's just a few that are. I don't know, guys. Again, don't take this out of context, please. I'm not here to try to create the next, the truth community went too far with every freaking piece of rock in this world a tree. No, that just made us look like idiots. And I would never mention this down the Thanksgiving table. I'm talking to you, people. The people here, we're all on the same level here. This isn't getting out to the normie. So, you guys, let's just go back to the basics. All right. Is there any way a guy could carve this? I don't see how it's possible out of a single thing of marble. I know marble's soft, and let me show you. Have I showed you the detail? I haven't showed you the detail of the net. It's impossible. Let me see if I can get a better picture here. The detail of the net. At every intersection point, there is a complete knot carved into marble, one single piece. The net by itself extends out with holes. It's not like the net is completely on top of the marble. It just looks like it is a real net in marble. So in other words, you could put your fingers, if you put your finger past the guy's ear, you could put your fingers up through the net holes. I mean, if anything, Venus de Milo's arms break off, just the arms break off. That couldn't survive, whatever, but this thing, not a piece of the net is broken off. You get things like this. That level of detail. Look, Matt, you don't understand. There were complete masters like Michelangelo, and it's, of course, I'm not saying that's a real woman. I'm saying it could be. It could be. And they have a technique. Don't forget the PMC clay. Again, anybody that's not aware of that, or somebody from you could go back to the 1800s and say, would you call me Harry Potter if I can turn this lump of clay into real sterling silver? And the person in the 1800s would be like, of course you can't do that. Nobody can do that. All you would need to do is get it hot enough, it would turn to sterling silver. What's the difference? How do we know there isn't something going on here? Think they'd share it with us? How do we know? And it wouldn't, again, without the PMC clay piece, I wouldn't be making this video, guys. The other element is many of these types of sculptures, like the one we're looking at. There are many that it just seems to be impossible that anybody could pull this off as a sculpture. So yes, even the net would have been. It's a net that was a rope net turned to like a PMC clay process into marble. I don't think anybody could carve this net. That's the problem. And the last piece is how they carry forth the truth drops of the stories and the legends and the lures that carry things and carry ideas through history, like Medusa. I don't even think I'd be making this video if it wasn't for the Medusa. Number one Greek legend of all time, turns flesh to stone. Coincidence? Yeah, maybe. But, once you get a sense as to how this reality does business, this shit is on the table. What do you think? Please, last thing. Matt's not saying you go down to the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the guy standing there in marbles, a real guy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's possible some are. All right? And especially as it gets into art sculpture that would be deemed impossible for a guy to just pull out his little knife. Get my carving knife, honey. Get the book. Get the book. Get the book. Get my carving knife. I'm going to turn this block of stone into an intricate fisherman with an impossible net carved in. What? That'll take you 20 years. Well, 20 years I got, honey. It's better than spending time eating your cooking. Maybe it was a guy that had nothing to do for 20 years. But maybe it's not. All right? Just an exercise in thinking big. The thing I am sure about, to me, it's 100%. It's my opinion, so it's still an opinion and can't be validated. But just to me, is how the system carries themes and certain motifs through history artificially. Same old example is the best old example. It's the old row, row, row your boat. You know where I'm going. They have to propagate and push through time. Life is but a dream. The song sucks. It would have died 10 minutes after the first person that created it. But it pops up in movies, TV shows. It's just constantly put in our face all the time. Now, and people listening to this would agree, this system we could identify 100 themes that are artificially carried through time that don't deserve to be carried through time. And I'd argue Medusa is one. Now, people listening to this, and me and to everybody, just take it for granted that Medusa is known by anybody over age 5 anywhere in the world, the legend of Medusa. Of course, it's so big, it's just everybody knows it. Why? Did we ever stop to think about why? Is it artificially carried through time, as I would predict it is? Because it's not that great when you really think about it. It just deserves to be one of the biggest stories of all time. For what? Nobody ever stopped to think about this. What's so great about it? The story of some hero named Perseus who entered a cave, and it was the body of a snake and the upper body of a woman like a centaur and the hair of snakes. And if you look into her eyes, you will be turned to stone. Flesh will be turned to stone. Hey, if somebody told that story thousands of years ago, assuming Perseus isn't real, I don't know, maybe it is. And he didn't really cut her head off and it's real. Maybe it's real. Maybe that's why it's carried through time. But let's just say it's not. Most people on the street would probably say it's probably not real. It's a story. Okay. If it's a story, but who knows? I don't take anything off the table. For the purposes here, it's a story. Someone would have said, it's a nice story. Somebody down the bar would have gone, you should turn that into a little children's book. If you keep it under $5, I might buy it for my kid. But nobody would have been blown away by it. Yeah, it's nice. Big effing deal. A little story about a guy who cuts off this woman's head. Oh, it's the greatest thing of all time. A woman who has snakes for hair. Oh my gosh, how'd you think of that? It doesn't deserve to be world renowned and world known decade after decade for thousands of years when you come to think of it. Yeah. Does it suck? Yeah, kind of. But it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't suck, but it ain't that great. Like all the nursery rhymes. Whoever came, they're carried forth artificially because the system has to. So certain people that pay attention can learn lessons about what they're supposed to do here for their spiritual self. Like Humpty Dumpty being one of my favorites. That story sucks. Let's go over to it here. See, I can do this. I can do this high-tech shit on the new Mac. Not Humpty, I better be careful, not Humpty Dance, Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumper, you put the wrong thing and you get a porn site. Humpty Dumpty images. See, I can do this on the new Mac. This is really advanced shit. This story sucks. There's nothing to it. But even the Humpty Dance, even it's always pushed. It's always, every kid knows this. Why? First person, all the king's horses and all the king's men. Well, that story sucks. Because the system has to tell you. To me, here's how I interpret Humpty Dumpty. Looking to what this world can do for you. To me, we're Humpty Dumpty. We fell off, had a great fall. The fall. We came into this existence. It's a fall from grace in some way. I'm not saying we're the fallen angels or demons. I don't know. Just being in this existence. All right? It's a fall of some kind. But you have to put the pieces of yourself back together. You're going to look to all the king's horses and all the king's men. First of all, who's going to be looking to horses to put your ass back together? That's just dumb. But if you look to the things of this world to put your broke ass back together, and it's you literally broke ass back together. You can't look to this world. You have to do it yourself. So that's all this is. This story blows, but it's carried artificially through time. Same with this Medusa. It ain't that great. So, guys, of course, because I figured Medusa always has to be carried through time. I'll give you 3 guesses, but you're only going to need 1. Do I think I found something showing Medusa carried through time? Something relatively recent. Of course. 2020. Luciano Garbati unveils Medusa statue outside New York courthouse. Okay, yeah, 2020. Put it in our face. All certain themes constantly in our face, all by design. Now, this is a Me Too statue per the Me Too feminist movement. It was put outside where Harvey Weinstein was convicted or tried or whatever in New York, and it shows Medusa carrying the head of Perseus. This time it didn't work out. This is an alternate universe where Medusa cut his head off and carrying his head. But of course, I can't say too much here, guys. I can't risk this video, but this theme of, what Matt's a white guy, and white guys aren't doing too well in this setup, in this decade, or that's just what's going on right now. We'll talk about it on Free Voice, how artificial this is, and the dopes that are falling for it. So this is a Me Too statue. But anyway, the point is, when I sat down to say, how is Medusa appearing relatively recent in culture or movies? There'll be something, of course, because it has to be artificially carried through time. And, of course, this is what I found related to Weinstein and all that. We're not going to get into that. But, again, why is the Medusa story so important to this system? Well, that lends a lot of credibility to that weird theory that I was talking about before here in this video. Could be. Why? Well, Matt, you got to understand it's not the guy down your art museum ain't a real guy. It probably isn't. I agree. It's a metaphor, an allegory for the soul turning to stone, losing yourself. Sure, that's more likely that those sort of things. If you can learn. So one of the key things, if you want to learn about yourself, find what the system propagates and pushes artificially through time, leapfrogs through time, like Victor's awake while Marcus sleeps. Find that out and then try to learn the lesson of it. Identify, like Humpty Dumpty, this dumb broke ass, what shouldn't exist because it sucks. Why does it exist unnaturally? The number of cartoons, the number of people that have drawn this up. Every artist, they didn't get instructions from the Illuminati window. I don't know how this happens. It just happens. More people that are going along with this system and merging with this system, the more they get what, I'll call a download, and they just basically do what the system wants. Oh, here's the Humpty dance. Humpty dance, here's your chance, doing the hump. He got busy in a Burger King bathroom, that dude. Respecta. He got busy in a Burger King bathroom. So what if you're fat? Look at me, I'm skinny. Never stopped me from getting busy. I don't know. Let's go back to Humpty Dumpty. He had a great fall. It's all just identify what shouldn't exist, because it really isn't that good. And when you really think this way, a lot of stuff isn't that good that survived. Even the Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey surviving and every high school has to read it. It's not that good. It really isn't. It really isn't that good. Why is it, what are they trying to do? And if anybody's screaming at me from their bathtub, I can hear you saying, well, then, Matt, you're saying you're calling them creeps. They're trying to help us. That's how the reality works. The creeps can be creeps, but this dark system also has to put these clues out there. Why does it have to work this way? I don't know. We'll never figure it out. Maybe it's part of the contractual rules of this game where we agreed to come here and said, we need some clues. All right, we agree to put the clues in. We're going to have our Lear jets and our Trump towers. We're going to put the clues in. But only less than 1% of you bastards are going to even notice. The other 99% will think this is just some famous story carried through time on its own merits. So, okay, fine. I'll take, it's going to be hard, I know. So that's what we're noticing, the clues. Of course, the dummies we deal with would listen to a presentation like this and think we're absolutely insane. So why does this exist? Why is there so many artists that are pretending to be stone?
And the coats have a cement-like material smeared over them.
And the coats have a cement-like material. Oh, sorry, Aussies. That wasn't right.
Give the impression that they are...
Give the impression. Sorry, Aussies. I love the Aussies and their lockdown. I feel so... The Aussies, they get one case in Western Australia, and the entire thing goes into lockdown. It's like twice the size of Texas. One case. I'm not thrilled about what's going on in the U.S. now, but at least I watched the NASCAR race yesterday from Nashville. The stands were packed. Like, well, how's Australia putting up with that? When I don't like what's here, of course, but I mean, one case in a state twice the size of Texas goes into full lockdown. What's going on in Australia is beyond it. I can't fathom it. I really can't. Even the gonest of the gone, you would think, would have just taken to the streets. But taking it to the streets, is that what he wrote about? That's a Michael McDonald song. It's written about. It's a recommendation for Western Australia. Anyway, why is this so big? Matt, they make a good living. I don't know. The system might have started doing this. Artists then saw that this is something they should do. This is all over the place. Why do all these artists pretend to be statues? Is that carrying forth the theme? Look at The Parent Trap. For 2 decades, I thought Lindsay Lohan was a twin. I had no idea. I didn't know it was the same person. I really didn't. How did she have a twin that played? It was her. She played 2 roles, but a damn good role. Actually, it was very impressive. It's a cute little movie. But even she's I don't know. She's hanging out the window or something in London, and a guy's frozen as a World War I statue. Come on, you're all familiar with The Parent Trap. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Pretending you don't know what I'm talking about. Come on. Pretend you don't know the name of the camp where they got together. Sure you do. You just act tough. I don't even know the name of the camp. Remember the fencing scene, though. The World War I guy's waving. He's not waving. He's frozen. She thinks it's a statue, and then he waves. That's all over the place. Why? Is it just because it's a great way for artists to make money? Maybe. Seems a little bit too pushed. I don't know. Again, guys, just a lesson in thinking big. Please don't think I'm trying to tell you every statue is a real person. Every statue, if it's a real person, this poor guy, holy heck. If David said, is it David, right? David. Yeah. David says, you're going to mummify me. You're going to do the process on me. I'm going to be turned to stone, but do me a favor. Give me a little enhancement. Don't put me up there as I really am, man. Come on. Look, David, man. David's a grower, not a shower. 2 different types, girls. 2 different. Don't get dissuaded when you see this. He's a grower, not a shower. Thanks for listening. This guy really has lost his mind. Wasting my time presenting statues as real people. Guys, the reality that's presented to us is a clown show. It deserves to be treated as such. What's going on out our window is beyond anything anybody could have comprehended a year and a half ago. Sometimes we need a little bit of a mental respite, and we always need intellectual exercises like this and ways to think outside of the box. Thanks for listening.